Hi everybody, welcome back to Big C's Texas Pit Stops. I know it's been a while since I've been on. I've been really busy with work, and you know, it's been it's been really crazy lately. We've just been trying to stay busy now with coronavirus and everything going on. Today I'm going to talk about Spurs' possible draft choices in the draft. Just a few prospects, not too many. You know, guys like Poku, the European prospect, he's 7 foot power forward center. He's a pretty good passer. Um, he's actually not a bad player at all. I think he has a lot of time to be able to build muscle on his body and put weight. He's kind of small, like tall and lanky. So, but he's got great passing ability. He can shoot. That's one guy that could be a surprise pick. You know, the Spurs like to shock people in the draft. A lot of people are like, "Who's that?" You know, but that's a possibility. Um, and then there's Aaron Naismith. He's actually a pretty good shooter. He's probably the best shooter in the draft. He's actually a pretty good player overall. I think he's from Vanderbilt. Really good shooters. So I think, and some people have compared him to Sean Elliott, even though he's a little shorter than Sean. But I guess because of maybe shooting and I don't know, maybe his playing style, I would think that would be the only reason why they would compare him to Sean. I mean, all I know is there's only one Sean Elliott. I don't think anybody could ever be Sean. But Sean's was a great player too. So that's a very nice compliment to comparison to him. I really, that's actually a nice, thing for people to say. Being that Sean was a big piece in Spurs history, so, and then Patrick Williams of Florida State. Now this kid is a multi-position power forward, defensive player. He can play power forward, small forward. Um, just athletic, just a great player. He's got a lot of potential. He can play, two positions. He can play the small forward and power forward position, which makes him a good pick because he's flexible. He can play both, multi positions, and that Spurs love players like that. So I do think Patrick Williams will probably be a good pickup if we can pick him up. But in the draft, it's unpredictable. You never know who's going to go where or what's going to happen. If there's going to be trades or shuffles, and he may go before we pick at 11. So Devin Vassell, too, is also a very good pick. He'd be a good player. He fit really well with the Spurs. I think alongside what's DeMar and LA, I think he'd fit really nicely with DeMar on the court playing. He's a pretty good defender, too, so I think he'd be a nice pick for us. And then Precious Chua, I think's his name. He's a really nice pick. I think he would be a good power forward, center for small ball. I think he's got a lot of game in him. He's good, good player overall. I think he would be a nice pick at that spot. But I think Precious may go before we pick. So, but if he would fall down to us at that spot, it would be really nice to see him come to the black and silver. Who else? There's a couple of surprise picks that I think the Spurs might look at. And what I shoot. Trying to look at some players here. Or maybe even a Jalen Smith from Maryland may be a good pick for us. Jalen Smith, I think, would fit really nice with the Spurs. We've had other players from Maryland in the past, like Tony Massenberg. There's Maryland's a good program. I think they've had some really good players come out of there in the past, so I think that would be a great pick for us. Jalen Smith, or even Vern Carey of Duke would be a great pick for us. A big man who can post up. Pretty good inside game. I think he'd be a good pick for us. He's one of those guys that's kind of, kind of old school big man, more playing the post, and I think the Spurs would like that. He probably could learn from LA a lot on his game. He can improve on that, so I think that's going to be a really good pick. Would be a good pick for us. Um, Even, I mean, most people would be like, you're nuts, but maybe even Trey Jones. Trey Jones, since Patty is getting older, we need a good point guard to come off the bench and help us out. He'd probably be a good floor leader for us. Trey Jones is also out of Duke, so I really think Duke players, they're very well coached. No, they usually they fit well in our system. They're used to being with a coach like Pop, so I really think that they're disciplined and they fit well with the Spurs and they learn the system pretty easily. But I do like Trey Jones. I think Trey Jones would be a nice pick for us. Here's a couple guys that might be a surprise in like a second round. Cassius, what's his name? Cassius. Hold on. Cassius Stanley, another Duke player, was a pretty good prospect coming out of high school. I think he could probably play shooting guard and small forward. He might be there in our second round spot. He would be a nice pickup there. I think who else? Yoda Human or something. He's a player out of Israel. He's a point guard. Kind of reminds me a little bit of Tony when Tony was younger, but that might not even be a close comparison. Tony was a great point guard, but he's got a lot of potential. He's got a lot of energy. He's athletic, so I think he would be a great spot, great point guard at that spot. I think that would be a good spot there for, even though we really don't need point guards. But I really think that he would be such a great player to come off the bench too, another bench player. Since it's a second round pick, it's kind of hard and it's never really guaranteed. But if we can get a player that can come in and actually show that he can play in this league, I think he'd be a good spot there. How about also Jaden McDaniels, who's a multi-position player, power forward, small forward. He's 6'11". No, yeah, 6'11". He's a really good, post guy. I think he'd be a good, player for us too. Another guy that might fall down to the 11th spot or might still be there. It might be somebody that might be on our draft board. So I think that would be a great pick for us. He's also kind of like Jalen Smith, very athletic. I think he still has some game to be polishing his game up. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see where he lands. One more guy I think might be surprise everybody is Vit Karjiki. He is a player that plays in Spain. I think he's from Yugoslavia, and he's a 6'6" point guard, but he can also play the 2. So I think he may be somebody we can stash overseas in the second round. I've seen some really nice highlight videos of him and some good draft video on him, and he's actually a very talented player. So I think he might be there at 41. The Spurs may be the Spurs look at guys that we would never think of. And I think he's probably one of those guys, even though he was injured this past season. Even if we store him in the, out in the, in Europe, I think he'd be a great player. And then Leandro Balmero, who's from Argentina, he's a really good player, good passer. Some people have compared him to Manu. There is no other Manu, but supposedly his passing savvy and his game is very similar. So those are the guys I really think might fall down to us at those picks. Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and I'll talk to y'all soon. God bless.